Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another edition of Monday Night Must-See TV with the Hudson Valley Squares. As you can see, we've got all the squares here tonight, full house, and a couple of extra folks. We've also got Rich Catino in the house.
Woohoo!
We've got George Lamie from In the Frog Seat in the house.
Woohoo!
We've got Mike Antonelli in the house, Dr. Poppy Jazz.
Hello.
And then we've got, of course, Butch Jones, Sydney Taylor, Lynn Versace, Steve Keeler, Ryan Scow, and Nick Franco's back in the house once again.
Nice.
There he is.
So before we
Yay.
get started on today's topic, I did want to make sure we did not forget something today. I know we're a couple of days early, but in 3, 2, 1, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to
Mr. President.
Happy
birthday to
you. The first ever Zoom happy birthday.
Awesome.
Talk about not being in sync. Wow.
Well, you didn't even
Yeah.
sing,
That was
fucker. So
I
you're
did in the
fine.
beginning, and then I heard the delay of it after.
That was a delay, all right.
Oh, thank you guys. I appreciate it. A few more days of 49. So I'm 49 like in a half.
I guess we're not taking this a cappella group on the road then.
No.
We're gonna put that Van Canto group to shame.
Thank
So,
you.
Rich,
Thank you.
so-
I'm now joining the club, right? Am I like the youngest besides Sydney?
No.
Oh, no, I forgot. Ryan and Nick are younger than me. Shit. Damn.
Rich, how old is Rich? Is a young guy too, right?
I just turned 50 in January.
Oh wow!
Aha!
I thought you were younger than that.
Looking good.
He's older than me. See?
Wow.
Very
Beautiful
excited
complexion.
about that,
Bunch
Rich.
of old fuckers.
Yeah, we are.
Careful.
Chris, I gotta
Hey,
say,
listen, I feel 25. That's all that matters.
Nice.
that your term, the olds, I'm seeing it everywhere. People are saying I got the olds all over the place.
It's spreading.
It's a great term.
Got the
Fucking
olds, man.
spreading, man. That's it.
The olds. So, and I want to thank Rich for putting that cupcake together. If you want to FedEx it to Lynn, I'm sure she'll give you
problem.
her address.
You already ate it. You already ate it.
Nice.
It's already gone.
You ate my cupcake?
He even blew out the candle. I guess.
So good.
it's all
That Rich Catino. He's
Yeah,
such a
still
good
here.
guy.
So here's the topic for today, everybody watching. So I've asked everybody to come up with the best sounding album they've ever heard in their life. In other words, the album that has the most amazing production, total ear candy, sonically just absolutely mind-blowing, whether it's something you listen to on headphones, in your car, in your stereo system, the most amazing album you've ever heard in your life. One pick, and then one honorable mention.
Good luck with
Okay.
that.
So the soon-to-be birthday girl is going to go first today.
What?
So-
Whoa.
I don't know. Why me?
Because
He just told you.
Oh man. Fucker. All right. Well, this was really hard because I have like 7,200 albums that I wanted to choose from. And I wasn't really sure. And then I even asked Butch's opinion, and he said I couldn't give any records from the other people that I wanted to pick because they weren't like hard enough. So
I didn't say you couldn't. I just said that I wouldn't.
kind of said I couldn't. Anyway, you guys are already going to probably know that I'm picking this group because they're my favorite group ever on the planet. And so my record that I go to when I put headphones on and I just kind of get lost, production or not, is Operation Mindcrime, Queensryche. And again, it puts me in a different place. It puts me in the show, in their whole theatrical well-being. It puts me in that place. So for me, I chose that record because I grew up with it. I love it. I mean, yeah, were there a million other records I could have chose production wise? Yeah, but for me, this record means a lot. And that's why I chose it. I remember now, Anarchy X, Needle Lies, Electric Requiem, it's all good. From one to another, like you envision it while you're sitting back in that chair and those headphones are on, you can actually envision what's going on. The whole sweet dreams, you busted. And then you kind of feel what's going on. So for me, that was my number one record.
Cool.
And then my honorable mention, it's kind of a tie. I know I'm a dick. You said one, but I have a tie. And it's Dream Theater, Images and Words
good choice.
for my tie. And it's their second album from 1992. I know a lot of people probably gave them shit for their triggers on their drums, or I love the drum sound on that record. To me, it's fucking phenomenal. Metropolis, Under a Glass Moon, the double bass, like it just, so that's my honorable mention. Of course, the Beatles, because you know how I feel about the Beatles, and Abbey Road, 1969, is my other honorable mention. Again, those records, I put them on, I put my headphones on, and I just close my eyes, and it takes me to another place, as does most music, but those three for sure.
Cool. Good choices. Good choices.
Thank you.
All right. How about one of our Monday night newbies here? George Lamie, what do you got for your pick here?
This one, Dark Water, Calling the Earth to Witness. It's Swedish prog metal from 2007. It's super punchy, super clean. Not a lot on bells and whistles, you know, not a lot of sampling, not a lot of, you know, intricate stuff, but just real tight, and it pounces right out of the speakers. Every time I listen to it, I thought of it right away, put it that way, above anything else. At this point, being 15 years old, it probably says something.
I haven't heard that in a long time. Wow. Good choice. Cool. You got an honorable mention?
Yeah, Mirath, Legacy,
Oh, well, yeah, that is a good sounding album.
Tunisian prog metal, 2015, I think, 16. A lot of orchestral stuff. That sounds really good on here. And it's like a Symphony X style, but a little poppier and a little less heavy, I would say. But yeah, the particularly the way they get the symphonic stuff in there, it sounds really good.
Cool. Yeah, that is a really good sounding album. Actually, their other one is really good too. The one that came before that.
Yeah.
Stuff. Cool. Nick Franco.
Hi.
Hi.
This was very hard. Like I almost can't do what I'm supposed to do with just one and then an honorable, but I'll do my best.
Here it comes.
My favorite my favorite band on earth is Iron Maiden. My favorite Iron Maiden album is not this album, even though I love this album very much. I have other Maiden albums that I love more, but this is the greatest sounding thing I've ever heard.
Peace of Mind. Yep.
Yeah, Peace of Mind. Sorry. Yeah, like it needs any introduction, right? I think probably my reasoning would be, I mean, I don't know a lot about production values. I know that was Martin Birch, who's, you know, phenomenal, but I just know that I love the way Steve's bass sounds on it in the mix. And, you know, of course, Bruce's voice, Nico's drums, and the guitars. It seems to me like the most perfect balance I've ever heard.
The best guitar tone they had.
Yeah, I mean, it just, you know, and I think I knew even as a kid because I've said a billion times how I got into Maiden was with, you know, at a time when like most of their stuff was already out. So I got to hear like all their back catalog at the same time, going from like, I don't know, everything up to Fear of the Dark was out. So I went backwards with just starting with Power Slave and Somewhere in Time. And I think I knew even then that there was something different about the way this album sounded. That was like, it caught my attention right away, even as a young kid who didn't really know anything about anything. But I knew, and it was amazing. For an honorable mention, I guess, I don't know, I could go a couple different ways, but I'm going to go on a little bit of a heavier side with Rust in Peace from Megadeth.
Great.
It as far as like thrashy heavy stuff, like there's something about this album. Again, I don't really have the musicians' words, but the way everything from the gang chorus vocals when they do like a shouting, you know, like Take No Prisoners and all that stuff, everything from that to the way the drums are mixed, and forget about the guitar tone on that too. So I think as far as heavy stuff, Rust in Peace has to be mentioned. And the Mike Klink being one of the producers, I guess I was looking up a little bit of, you know, research on this. And I guess Mike Klink was really working on Guns N' Roses at the same time. And he left a lot of this production to
Max
Dave
Norman.
and I'm sorry, I wrote the names down. Somebody named Makaja Ryan and Max Norman.
Max Norman, brother.
Yeah, those three pretty much are I think mostly responsible. Dave said in a 2002 interview that that was the case. So I've never heard another band sound quite like they did. I'm not even themselves. than on this recording. So I'd have to put Rust in Peace up there, even though I want to squeeze 2112 in because I love it. So that's
Very
my
cool.
story.
Very cool.
Menz's drums on that album sound like $1 million. That's like one of the best drum recordings I've ever heard in my life.
And it still sounds just as good now as it did when I first heard
It is so punchy and it's freaking powerful as hell.
it. Yeah. So those are my choices.
Very cool.
Thank you.
All right, before she goes, I do want to congratulate Sydney Taylor for
Woohoo!
just today becoming part of the staff over at Brave Words and Bloody Knuckles.
Yeah.
Congrats, Sydney.
Yay.
Thank you so much.
Woo!
Yeah,
Yes.
it's super exciting. I haven't put out any pieces yet, but it's coming very shortly. So if you enjoy reading Brave Word stuff, stay tuned because there's some cool stuff coming up. But yes, I'm very, very excited. And thank you for the congratulations. It is much appreciated. So this was an interesting pick for me because when we did this topic, this topic was brought to us, I kind of was trying to figure out something that wasn't the norm of what I usually pick here. You know, we all know I love Alice Cooper, I love Dokken, I love Dio, you know, we've heard those names a million times. And it's funny because the album that I did end up choosing, I've kind of been listening to a lot lately. It's one of those albums that I've heard many times before, but kind of haven't listened to in a while. And the past couple of weeks, it's kind of just been on quite a bit. I'd gotten a great original pressing of it as well, which I'm going to show. But I went with this iconic record, Fleetwood Mac, Rumors.
Oh, I was thinking about that.
And
Awesome.
I went strictly, you know, not only is just the songwriting on this record just completely phenomenal,
Killer.
from top to bottom, there's not a bad song on this entire record, but also just production wise, this album sounds like it could have been recorded yesterday, with how clear it is, with how crisp it is, just the way that everything is layered on this. You know, you can listen to it a million times, and I have, and every time I feel like you listen back, you can hear something new with, you know, either in Lindsey Buckingham's like guitar fills and just things that are on this record. You know, you listen back, this album was actually produced by Ken Clay and Richard, God, I'm going to butcher his last name, Dashut. It's probably wrong, but produced by those two. Ken Clay did a lot of the majority of the producing. And it was produced and mixed at Sound City, which if you guys have seen that documentary that Dave Grohl did, was so good. If you haven't, I really recommend that you go and watch that. But
Everything that was produced there.
yeah, it's produced there, and it's just the whole production of this record. And you can like go back and listen to, you know, the demo stages and how they layered this and, you know, made this so perfect. Like Fleetwood Mac, you know, when you listen to them at first, you probably wouldn't think that they tried so hard to make everything sound perfect, but they really did, at least in my opinion. You know, you can hear the record and, you know, you don't hear a lot of things right off the bat, but when you kind of hone in and you learn the history of each song and how it was layered, you can really hear a lot of different things. So I just think his record is produced phenomenally, and I don't know, it's had to choose it. And it was something a little bit different than I feel like I normally present here. So this is my number one choice. And for my honorable mention, I'm actually going to go with, this is hard because I was in between two as well. But I had to go with AC/DC Back in Black, because man, the production on that's another one. I kind of went more production based when it comes to this, more so than albums that I just really love, but albums that are just so crisp and clear. And Back in Black is another one of those that it sounds like it could have been recorded yesterday. So there's a million more, and you know, this could be different tomorrow, but those are the two that I went
Oh
with.
yeah.
Yeah. Good choices. I considered Fleetwood Mac too.
So did I.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
Man,
It's on my
vocally, I
list.
mean, the way they produced the vocals on that album, just unbelievable.
I mean, like
Yeah.
6-part harmonies, like if you just listen to the vocals, like even just on like Dreams, just the 6-part harmonies, like there's xylophone in there,
Yeah.
and you know, like they spent so much time just layering that, like for like over a year, just like making everything
Man.
perfect. And you know, the producer, you know, Ken Clay even talked about how they had such a problem with making it sound big, you know, on the tapes and everything like that, because the room that they recorded in at the record plant was so kind of just a shitty room. And so the fact that they took that room and managed to make it sound, you know, as clear and crisp as it still is, you know, 40 plus years later, is just insane. So had to be my pick.
Steve.
I'd like to make a note on that album, of course, of how iconic that album is. I could almost say that that's the best-selling album in rock fantasy right now. I
Really?
order that record almost every week or two, and I get a couple copies, and no doubt the girls write down, we're out of Fleetwood Mac rumors again. And I mean, we sell that constantly.
Well, did you hear about the TikTok?
That's
that
one.
went
I was
around?
gonna say,
The
girls
TikTok
my
went
daughter's
around.
age are buying it like crazy.
Yeah, because
They're all into
Dreams
it.
Dreams went
Okay.
back to #1 again after
Yeah.
this video that this guy did of this
Oh,
guy
wow.
riding
Yeah.
a
I
skateboard
mean, it's, yeah,
and
this
drinking
is-
cranberry juice to Dreams, and so everybody who's never heard Dreams
Oh,
before lost their
Yeah.
damn mind, and it went back to #1 after like 40 years, and so yeah,
It's
that's
huge.
kind of-
It's
Wow.
huge. All the teenagers are listening to it. And, you know, I remember her coming home from school one day going, oh my God, did you ever hear this band? Did you ever hear the song? I'm like, fucking really?
Shut up.
No, I never heard it.
I mean, it's been a steady seller for me for the last couple of years. It's constantly. Even
Wow.
the girls,
Yeah.
even the younger girls at work, run the store for me, love that album.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. How could you not?
Without
It's a classic.
TikTok even.
It's classic. It's timeless.
Yep.
All
All right, the guy with the fresh glass of bourbon and the cool John Sykes shirt. You're up, Mr. Jones.
See, I was specifically not going to say his name. So whoever made that post last time about the time stamp of when his name was mentioned, it was not me this time. I wore the shirt so I wouldn't have to say his name. So there. So for me, I'll do a little different. Obviously, there's so many great sounding albums, considering that's what this whole thing is about. It's not my favorite albums. It's the sound of the albums. So for me, like Nick already mentioned, he might actually be my favorite producer, but Max Norman, anything Max Norman does sounds phenomenal. He's gotten the greatest guitar tones in hard rock history, from Randy Rhoads to Akira to Lynch, that Megadeth record. There's a reason why all those records sound so phenomenal. So Max Norman has a lot to do with that kind of stuff. Chris Sangarides, Martin Birch, like Nick had mentioned as well. There's Andy Sneap of the modern era, who to me is the best metal producer now. That guy has a tone. I mean, we could easily just mention Firepower, from a couple of years ago. That record sounds phenomenal. Andy Sneap is the man. Having said all that, none of those guys made it to my two. So my honorable mention, and this is impossible. So you guys watching this is impossible to pick two albums that are your favorite, greatest sounding albums of all time. This is torture. But what I came up with my honorable mention is Rush's Permanent Waves.
Yes, good choice.
Terry Brown, another one of those guys, the Terry Brown era of Rush. Perfect. I mean, I mentioned this album, obviously I always remember the cover, think about the album cover, but just think of Natural Science alone. Natural Science and Jacob's Ladder, just those two songs alone, and everything that's going on in those songs. The stuff is swirling. Talk about a headphone record. Stuff swirling coming from one side to the other side, and the water sounds, and oh my God, Natural Science is just brilliant. So I've always loved the way that album sounded. I got that album brand new. So I was 13 when that album came out. Amazing. But trying to narrow it down to one, like I said, is very painful. But I kept going back to this album because for so many different reasons, honestly. But for me, Van Halen 1. Obviously, I'm a guitar guy, and Edward's guitar tone was revolutionary. The drum tone was revolutionary. The way that this album sounds, 43 years later, like I've already been mentioned, it sounds like it was recorded yesterday. It sounds brilliant. Sunset sound, just like we just said about Sound City. Everything that was recorded there has a sound to it. Dio's Holy Diver was recorded there. Sounds phenomenal. But Van Halen 1.
That was on my list.
Yep. So Van Halen 1 at Sunset Sound, the production values of Ted Templeman. And we can talk. And I know, Pete, I know this is an album that means a lot to you too. That first Montrose record.
Oh yeah.
It sounds monumental. So Ted Templeman at Sunset Sound, that Van Halen record, it sounds so crisp. I mean, I can't help but use the word revolutionary because it in 1978, it brought so many new things to the table that for hard rock, everything has been measured up to those tones that people today are still trying to capture from 1978. So to me, it's hard to say if that's my greatest sounding album for me of all time, but for having a week to think about it and trying to go through all my albums and CDs and everything, trying to remember, it's hard for me to beat that one. So Van Halen won for me.
Good choice. Good choice.
Edward.
Kick
I need
ass.
to add something, Pete.
Yes.
Butch, so my friends and everybody threw a surprise party for me this weekend, and Butch may or may not have had cake smushed in his face. And I have a picture of it. So somebody may or may not have put cake right in his face.
I saw a picture and I was like, I wonder how that happened.
It
I was minding my own business.
It wasn't me.
I was minding my
Well,
own
at least he's smiling about it now because the picture I saw, he did not look happy.
Oh, he wasn't happy. And I know
that was for the
payback's a
camera.
bitch.
That was for the camera.
Yeah.
It was funny. I'll admit it
We're
was
just
funny.
getting angry. He
Was
was angry.
Was the cake good at least?
It was good, but it wasn't me. Butch doesn't eat sweets. Don't ask him.
Yeah,
He
I
doesn't
didn't even
eat cake.
taste it. I didn't even taste it.
He doesn't even eat cake.
It was getting in the way of my bourboning.
His girlish figure. And I was bourboning too that night.
Yes,
someone who
ladies
doesn't
and
drink.
gentlemen, Lynn was drinking bourbon cream, and by 10:30, she goes to me, is the room spinning for you too? Oh, yes, it was classic.
I wanted to say bourboning for the first time ever. And I tell you, because of Sunday morning, the way I woke up, it's going to be the last time I ever say it. I'm so sorry. I just had to add that.
All right. Mike Antonelli, you're next.
Okay. Well, first of all, I'm just like everybody else. I want to congratulate you on picking the most absurdly hard topic that we've ever come across. So I tried to find something from the archives of my history that I thought was something that I would never forget. And of course, there are so many, but back when I was in high school, the car was basically my studio where I discovered all of my new recordings and so forth. And this is in the late 70s, and 8 tracks had just given way to cassettes, and I had this Pioneer Super Tuner cassette player in the car, and I made these custom boxes, and we had this like 4-way speakers, in the back. So the whole thing was like, a big jukebox basically. And I spent most of my high school days driving around listening to the newest thing coming out. And so that's where the amazing audio first hit me, was from, that scene of being in the car and driving around and finding music that just was embedded in my mind. So going back to those days, I said, well, let me search a little bit further. And so what I picked, I'll give you the honorable mention first, because I think this was a very influential album, which was way before the days that I was driving. But the Beatles' Sgt. Pepper. This album came out in 1967. And it was an engineering marvel because they did it on 4 tracks, and it was so much of a brand new technique, where they were bouncing from track to track. They only had a 4-track recorder. George Martin kept overdubbing, and they've got live symphony orchestras, they've got live audience, they've got horns, they've got clarinets. And they've got all these different Indian instruments from basically each Beatle got to put his own stamp in here. And the whole concept of a band who was trying to be thinking that they were somebody else, assuming a different identity, so to speak, was what this came to be. What happened to make this record was that It was an idea of the Beatles stepping away from touring and seeing how good they could be in the studio. And I think this one recording influenced an entire generation. So you fast forward from 67, and when this was made, at the time, it was an epic recording, just because of the techniques by George Martin, the producer, and what they were able to accomplish with just 4 tracks is just astonishing. So in just a few short years, of course, from Abbey Road Studios, then you had Alan Parsons, who was a protege of George Martin, and he came out with the Dark Side of the Moon with Pink Floyd and helped on that and so forth. That was another great album that, to me, sonically, just took me to places that I've never heard before. It's so unique.
No
And
doubt.
I'm all about, the individualism of the performers. So if you could sound unique, I grew up in a day when you put on the record or listen to it in your car, like I said, you could tell from note 1 that it was Zeppelin, or it was Tull, or that it was Kiss, or that it was the Kinks. I mean, these bands all had their own real identities. And I think that was really something that started with the Beatles assuming a new identity, basically, as Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. I think that started a whole trend and a whole genre of bands who thought that the best way to present themselves was to find your unique voice. And I still think today that is something that puts a band over the top, So I'm going to go with that as my honorable mention. And again, just 10 years later, another album that was, I think, one of this band's top recordings. My number 1 pick is Steely Dan Asia. Studio album made in LA by the band with some of the best. They had a reputation of using the best studio performers that they could find, Becker and Fagen. And they put together this really great sounding Asia album, which of course is very historic in its own right. They featured a lot of great jazz players, Victor Feldman, Tom Scott did some arranging. Of course, they had Wayne Shorter and of course Steve Gadd and so many great musicians. Larry Carlton, of course, yeah, guitarist. So I'm going to go with that with my number 1. I also happened to be, a senior in high school when this came out, so I was very at a very influential age, and it stuck with me for all these years. I still love, listening and playing to this. So that's my number 1.
Michael McDonald's on that too, isn't he?
Yes, he is. Background vocals.
There you go.
Yeah.
Great album. Great album.
Absolutely. Mr. Allo.
All right. I know, Pete, you'd mentioned a bunch of times like the headphone experience, but I had an experience listening to this record, like, I don't know, 2 years ago now, 2.5 years ago, whatever, 3 years, whatever year this is, I don't know, 5 years ago, I don't know. I'm not a time traveler, but I heard it and I was like, holy shit, this is ridiculous. It was December of 2017, and I got an email from a publicist that said, hey, you need to come to Sony Studios to hear this record if you want to interview the band later today. And so I went down and I went to Sony, and the secretary took me to this like vault, and it was like something out of Star Trek. She put the buttons and doot, 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 and this like this fucking door open, and she took me into this giant room which had speakers everywhere, in the fronts and mid-ranges. There were subwoofers. There was nothing in the room but speakers and one chair dead in the center of the room. And I sat down and I looked through the booth, and she's like, you ready? I'm like, yeah. She hit play. And for the next hour, I couldn't believe this record sounded so fucking incredible, especially because the last record, the guitars and shit sounded really shitty. So 3 months later, I interviewed the band, whatever. 3 months later, the record came out, and the record is Firepower from Judas Priest. Butch mentioned them previously. An unbelievable. They got like the dream team for Priest. They brought back Tom Allen. Andy Sneap, of course, worked on it, and Mike Exeter, who's done a ton of work with everybody. And they just got an unbelievable. I mean, it was great performances, and they just got an awesome sound out of the record. I've never had another experience of listening to a record like that since. I mean, I got a pretty decent setup at my house, but I'm like, man, nothing will ever sound as good as listening to that record at Sony Studios.
And you all by yourself, so they just
all by myself. They sat me down in the middle of the room, nothing in front of me other than speakers, nothing behind me than speakers. It was crazy.
That's badass, dude.
Yeah, I was like, holy shit! Like everything was loud but clear, and I mean the guitars were just ripping because on the last record they were kind of muddy and shitty sounding.
Very muddy, yeah.
So I was just blown away. I was like, my God, this sounds fucking great. And luckily, Priest were busy doing other interviews, so I got to hear it a few more times before interviewing them that day. But yeah, I'd never heard anything, and God only knows what that system was. I mean, yeah, and God only knows what that cost. But wow, it sounded incredible. And yeah, sure, I had my crappy system at the house, and Pete's heard my stuff because it's shit compared to whatever Sony had. But I still think this sounds really good, and it sounds good in the car when I'm singing. And my honorable mention is an older record. I love the record, and I love the sound. It's got the big John Bonham sounding drums from Pepper Keenan, just vicious sledgehammer guitars that are distorted, but not too distorted. They're clean enough. It's one of my all-time favorite records. Yeah. Corrosion of Conformity, Blind. It's one of my all-time favorite records of all time. I mean, if they used to do that Desert Island Discs was in some book where you can only take 10 CDs. If I'm taking 10 CDs on an island with me, it's one of these. And
man, the guitars are jacked on that record.
Oh, for sure. And those are my two picks.
I hear you correctly saying driving in your car singing?
Oh yeah. Listen, man, I can pull off a pretty good Rob Halford when no one's around.
Let's go right now.
Oh well,
I think we got to get you and Steve doing a little duet.
I'd like to hear that. A little duet.
Sure. The difference between
do a happy birthday duet.
Steve remembers all the words. I'm always like, how can he remember all these fucking words? I mean, I just
don't know about that.
I remember all the words to everything too.
I got the olds. I can't remember nothing.
When you're driving by yourself.
I'm totally joking.
When you're driving home by yourself and you got a 3-hour ride, sing along with them words because it's gonna keep you awake.
That's true.
Pretend it's your concert when you're driving up the turnpike for 3 hours. Cool.
All right, Steve.
Allo, by that story, I was envisioning was like, remember that MTV commercial where they sat the guy down in a chair and he had the scarf on and they fucking played the music on the TV?
Dumbass.
What was it?
It was Maxell.
It wasn't that.
It was a commercial with the power.
Well, whatever the hell it was, that's what I envisioned. You sitting in the chair, wearing the scarf, the sunglasses, and the TV breaking.
It was kind of like that, except I didn't have an ascot, but it was like that. It was crazy.
And in that commercial, he had a glass of wine, and the glass of wine was being blown back, and he catched it.
Well, that's what I envisioned.
Nice. Lynn just put us all in a Wayback Machine.
Yep.
Because I got the olds.
Because we got the olds.
We got the olds. Everybody's got the olds.
It's almost official.
Sydney, that's when we used to watch, and some of us watched on black and white TVs. It was crazy.
Nice. Yeah, me too. The Monsters are still in black and white, actually.
Right.
And when you had to go to the TV and fix the antennas.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, uphill both ways.
Did Steve just say that the Monsters are still in black and white?
They are.
He
Well,
did.
he's
Did
not
you
lying.
expect it to change?
Oh, yes.
It's a Wizard of Oz.
It was filmed. It was filmed in 1962, and it's they changed the color now.
Yeah, it's like Wizard of Oz.
Why, that's the horse of a different
colorized a lot
color.
of movies from back then. A lot of TV shows were colorized.
I hope they never colorize the Monsters.
No, I don't want to.
No, they
I mean,
can't.
I was just joking in here,
I don't
making
want to be
conversation.
polarized.
There is rumors of a Rob Zombie remake of the Monsters, though.
Oh God.
That's
I hope
Just
not.
came out that news.
I hope not.
I don't think that's a rumor. That was actually a statement. They announced it.
Munich.
Oh, it's official now?
I think it is, yeah.
Awesome. Can't wait to see Mrs. Zombie as Lily Munster.
Of course.
Yeah. Yeah, it's gonna be it. I mean, they
No.
tried redoing them. Somebody else tried doing the Munsters.
Oh, it's been done a bunch of times. Yeah, same with the Adams Family.
Well, no one's ever redone the Creature from the Black Lagoon.
No,
Still waiting.
it's coming.
Keep it that way. Leave it alone.
Anyhow, we're way off topic.
All right, Steve, what do you got?
I originally had just two, but since Lynn picked three, I figured I could make a tie
Oh, here
also.
we go. Here we go.
Yeah, but it's Lynn's birthday.
Yeah, it's her
Oh,
birthday.
I'm
Steve.
sorry.
She's cuter
It's
than you.
gonna be my birthday in October.
Yeah, you're a little far away.
Anyhow, my honorable mention is Opeth, Blackwater Park.
Oh, nice choice. Yeah.
I'm not the biggest guy about producing. I don't play instruments. I'm just a guy that likes a lot of music. And this is an album that I have listened to. And whenever I go and have dental work or go to the doctors or anything else, Opeth is what I listen to. Put my headphones on, it puts me in a different world. And I wanted to make a quick mention of about one heavier album other than Opeth is Death Symbolic. I thought it was an album that was produced amazingly, and it was one of the death metal albums that was really brought up by Jim Morris and Chuck Schuldiner.
Who produced this, Steve?
What's that?
Who produced the Death record?
Jim Morris.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Jim Morris and Chuck did it themselves, and
more
Morris
sound stuff.
Studios.
Yep.
And my number one album for Pete kind of said, well, album on headphones. The first one that really tripped me out was 1973, Dark Side of the Moon, Pink Floyd. I mean, I could go with Animals. I could go with Wish You Were Here. I went with Dark Side of the Moon.
All three are impeccable. Yeah.
Amazing.
And guess that's what I got.
Cool.
Was in my top four as well.
Short and
Ones
sweet.
I had
I
to
was.
decide about. Yeah.
All hell.
All right. Rich Catino.
All right.
You're
So
awfully quiet today, Rich.
I'm listening, taking it all in. So in order for me to decide, I had to throw a bunch of CDs in a pile, and then I picked two of them. That's the only way to do it.
Rich has been cursing me out all day for including him.
Yeah. I just couldn't decide. There's the
Oh,
pile got bigger and bigger. I said, let me just throw them all in a pile and I'll grab two. And that's it. So this is my number one, Symphony X, The Odyssey. Because it's as epic as the artwork, the story, the music, which Mike Romeo did pretty much everything.
Yeah.
Production, mixing, engineer, the whole deal. But the mix, I like it a lot. It's very balanced, when the guitars are there, the guitars are heavy, but when the guitars drop out, you can hear the orchestration, keyboards, the bass. There's a lot of room in the mix for, all the other instruments. So yeah, this is a great sounding album. I always like listening to it. It's a real good journey, especially the last track, which is like 24 minutes, I think.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy long.
But is it the journey or the production?
Both. The production just enhances, I think, that journey. That's why I picked it. That's why I threw it in the pile, because it has a great sound to it and it has a great mix, and a balance to it. You can hear all the instrumentation and all the things going on.
I'd argue that and Paradise Lost are the two best sounding albums from them.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah.
Well, that
it's
album
great,
is
great
my favorite
sound.
without a doubt.
And it's heavy too. It's heavy, but it's not too heavy. Because I think
Right
after
on.
this, they went a little too heavy and things got heavy, too heavy, but this still has a lot of their classic elements from the previous albums.
And Russell
yeah,
is
that's-
produced.
And Russell's voice,
Amazing
yes,
on that
it's
album.
amazing on this. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of clarity to this, but still heaviness. It's great. And then the honorable mention is Gamma Ray Power Plant.
Oh,
I had
good
to throw a couple power metal albums in there because everybody thinks that a lot of times power metal doesn't have enough power. But this album has some power.
Figure.
So if you're curious, pick up Power Plant. Just the first song, Anywhere in the Galaxy, is just gonna blow you away.
That album sounds great. It really does.
Really one of my favorites by them, aside from No World Order and Land of the Free. But this is probably the most powerful out of all their albums, I think.
Kai Hansen.
Yeah, this definitely puts the power in power metal. So yeah, this made it to my two out of the pile that I picked from.
Nice.
Very cool.
Nicely done, Rich.
Rich.
Thanks.
All right, Ryan Scow. What do you got?
All right. So, like some of you guys have been cursing Pete here because this is an impossible task. Not only you got like albums which kind of like sound perfect,
but like the production's got to be good for the music. So like, I love how Steely Dan and how Rush sound, and I love like Venom, but I don't want like a Steely Dan production on a Venom album. I don't want a Venom production on a Steely Dan album because it wouldn't fucking work. But they both sound good for their own little corner of the world. So I tried to pick albums which had a production that really like resonated with me. Like when I listen to the music, I love the music. The production kind of accentuates it, creates a certain mood, which is hard to replicate anywhere else. Like I had to have a unique kind of feel to it. So I picked two albums, both from 1984, as it worked out. The first album is I noticed two people have shirts with them here, so I'm gonna pull this out of the pile. Merciful Fate.
Ooh, really?
I'll tell you what. I have 8 billion metal albums, and a lot of them, especially black metal, a lot of the heavier stuff, it really tries to create that hammer horror feel, like that horror movie, like very cryptic, like cemetery at midnight, like that specific feel. That's hard to do. Some of them pull it off. A lot of them kind of fall flat. But of all the albums I've ever heard that like try to get that unique like horror movie feel, I think nobody matches it like this album. Like I think the first album, Melissa from 1983, might have arguably sounded a little better, more polished. This one's a little raw. The guitars, especially, Hank and Michael Denner's guitars have a little more of a raw sound to a little harsher. But obviously King Diamond's vocals are amazing. But this album just has a real unique feel, which, even with like 48 billion, black metal albums I own, I don't think I have a single one. And I'm not really saying these guys are black metal, but they have that feeling. I don't think I have a single album that kind of captures that quite as perfectly as this one. Obviously the artwork, it all sets the stage. It all kind of comes together. The music's amazing. The way King Diamond's vocals, he has a very theatrical vocal presentation. I don't want to like compare him to Freddie Mercury so much, but like it's that kind of thing where he really really tries to have this I guess theatrical is the best word for it. He really tries to like pull these different characters and stuff, has it's the high falsettos, like the deeper growly voice. So I'm going with this one from 1984. And the second one, obviously I like a lot of raw stuff, a lot of like stuff with like a nastier sound. A lot of my favorite 80s albums. I was thinking like, do I want to do Hell Awaits by Slayer? This doesn't sound great, but it sounds fucking evil. So I didn't pick that one. So I'm going through a pile. I got to pick an album that sounds really unique, that sounds like nothing else. And I don't think this album, it doesn't sound perfect from like a production. Like if you put like get a couple like expensive studio engineers, like, what do you think of this? They probably wouldn't be too into it. But I think it sounds great for what the music it's going for. It all kind of accentuates it. And I'm picking the first Voivod album from 1984, War and Pain. It's obviously my favorite guitarist of all time. Just a fucking Huntero over Tony Iommi, like this close. But Piggy's my favorite, and his guitar tone on this album is just I've never heard anything like it in any album I own. It's even among the Voivod albums, like the later ones, which are great. Like, I don't even know if I'd say this is my favorite Voivod album, but the production is there's just nothing like it. Now Blackie, obviously, he really went with the earlier on you had Lemmy with that super distorted bass tone. So Blackie, I was reading, he put his bass guitar through a old 70s 100-watt Marshall head, and just blew. It's labeled as blower bass because there's the bass sound is just absolutely.
Wait. What is it labeled as?
Blower bass. Yeah.
Lower
bass.
Lower bass.
Lower bass. Yeah.
Oh,
in English was not their first language, so something to consider. Yeah, it's like the next level above, like Lemmy's bass was just, and Blackie kind of took it even further because Voivod stuff was even another dimension beyond that. But just the sound of the sound, there's just nothing like it, like that post-apocalyptic, like Mad Max, Road Warrior, like Escape from New York, like that kind of sound. That's hard to capture too, because like a lot of punk albums, a lot of metal albums have tried to do that, like Warriors from the Wasteland sound. Some bands get it, some don't. I don't think there's an album in my collection that nails it like these guys. And the guitar's got a lot to do with it. The guitar and the bass. The drums sound like absolute fucking cacophony, which is cool. It fits the music. But,
hey, Ryan, do you like that enough to get a tattoo of something like that or no?
Yeah, I ended up getting a Voivod tattoo last couple recently. That's from their demo, Anachronism. It's my favorite Canadian band of all time. So
I love you.
I'm going with this is my honorable mention, and I'll throw it real quick. From favorite drum sound of all time, also 1984, Our Slave Martin Birch. So there you go.
That's your favorite drum sound?
I'm with guitar sounds and bass sounds. Like, okay, you can pick different ones, but I guess drums, I mean, they gotta be the hardest instrument to record. Like I'm an ignoramus with this stuff.
Mm.
I love how McBrain's drums sound on that album. It's perfect. Like the
Over
kick-
Peace of Mind?
Yeah, I think they sound a lot better than Peace of Mind.
Ooh,
I don't know about
Nick,
the tone, but the drum
Nick.
sound, that's my favorite drum sound that I do on my own.
that's awesome. I love that album. How can you not? So I'm
Yeah,
not,
I mean,
I can't fight you.
Picking between children.
Hey, Chris, you got any highly caffeinated soda by you?
No, I don't actually.
No.
Why, does Steve
If you
need
have-
some?
If you have some, I want you to pass them down to Steve because I think we're
He
losing.
looks like he's ready to put his PJs on.
I'm falling asleep.
You're getting really
We know you've already yawned on camera into your mic.
Steve, how have the Devils been doing against the
They
Rangers?
suck horribly.
Yeah, who's been kicking their butt the past few months?
They're awful.
I got to tell you though, the Devils are going to have a good from just yesterday's game alone. I saw some stuff in them. They're going to have a good team in 3 years. If they can get a goalie, they're going to have a good team.
Yeah, no, that's true.
The
I hate saying
Devils.
it.
Been a long
Right
time.
down.
All right. So as I was telling a couple of you before we started taping today,
Non-hockey
up
fan.
until yeah, not hockey related.
Let's move this along.
up until taping time, I have 5 CDs sitting here, and I still have. I think I got my number one figured out. My number two, my runner up. I'm not going to say it because Mike Antonelli picked it as his favorite, so I'm going to leave Steely Dan Asia. That was my original runner up. And Mike, I'm going to call you out right now because until I talked to you at the brewery the other day, I had, you know what I know why you're laughing. I hadn't even considered this, and I was like,
Awesome.
then I listened to this 3 times today. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was a
Pick that
contender
one
for me
either.
as well.
yeah, that's a good one.
So,
Me too.
so Pete, yeah, you could see that I have a whole, like, notes on that. That was gonna be my pick until about 5 o'clock tonight.
I was like, I said to Mike at the brewery that day, it's like, yeah, that's a great one. That's a great one. Nah, but I'm not going to pick that. But wait a second. I kept thinking about it. And then I listened to it a couple times. I'm like, oh man. But I was like, but the funny thing is the 2 that I actually, I had it down to 2 until yesterday. And my number 1 was totally new today. I couldn't believe I forgot this one, but let me do my honorable mention first. I, Robot from the Alan Parsons Project.
Wow.
Incredible sounding album, amazing on headphones, cool mix of like pop and just straight up rock and a lot of prog rock, art rock, whatever you want to call it. I mean, Alan Parsons is a genius. And I would say arguably that this sounds pretty comparable to the work he did on Dark Side of the Moon. I know, don't throw any tomatoes at me, but
And his new stuff is great. I got 2 buddies in his band. And if anyone gets a chance to go see them when they come back around, they sound phenomenal live. They sound
still
great.
do. Yeah, that last album they put out recently was very, very good.
Jeff Coleman.
That's right. That's right. So that's my honorable mention for today. And my number 1 was actually not going to be my number 1. This was going to be my number 1 out of the blue by Ian
Ooh.
Bob.
Oh, come back.
That's a
My
good
show,
one.
I brought a couple. So, but here's my number 1, and I couldn't believe I forgot this. And then when it finally dawned on me today, I was like, oh yeah, Supertramp, Crime of the Century. What a magical album.
Wow.
Magical. Whether you're just cranking on a really good stereo or listening to it on headphones, it just sounds amazing. And it's
Never heard it.
You never heard it. Oh, Butch.
Not the whole thing.
Not the whole thing. I know.
Oh, look, Sydney.
What?
Go back to Ryan. Ryan's got a power with him again.
Oh,
That's how he gets his showers at night. You haven't figured that out?
It wouldn't go too long because that Voivod tattoo will be gone.
Right.
So, yeah.
I just think it's hilarious. It's just now every single week, at some point there's a dog in Ryan's Square. It's just
Guess what?
It's
Last
usually-
week, guess what? Last week there wasn't, Sydney, when you
Right.
couldn't make it. The dogs didn't
Oh.
show up.
That-
Didn't feel like showing up.
that is true. It's usually at about the 45-minute mark. So
Pete, what's on?
what's
Pete,
on
what's-
this? Okay, so this was from 1974, produced by Ken Scott. So this has some classic Supertramp songs. It's got School, Bloody Well Right. You've heard Bloody
Okay.
Well Right.
I've heard that.
Probably heard Dreamer. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then, I mean, it's got Hide in Your Shell, Asylum, Rudy is amazing. If Everyone Was Listening, and the title track, Crime of the Century. Just if you haven't heard this album,
Hmm.
when we're done, go to YouTube and listen to Crime of the Century and listen to School.
Okay.
Amazing songs. I mean, it's just, and again, what do you call Supertramp, art rock, prog rock, pop? I don't know. They kind of do a little bit of jazz too. Just, I kind of compare this a little bit to the Asian album by Steely Dan. They both sound amazing. Just great songwriting, great instrumentation, and just kind of music that you really can't classify, but it's just so good. And I purposefully today for this wanted to go with, you'll notice with the exception of the Boston album, most of my stuff was not very guitar centric. And I wanted to go with something that I think kind of has a little bit of everything, not just a big bashing, guitar album. So, and those are the ones that really came to mind first for me, except for the Boston album, Mike. So.
Well, you didn't mention that Tom Schultz recorded that whole thing in his basement, basically.
Yeah.
And the engineer that was actually hired was kind of a ruse for the record company as like a go-between, because they actually thought he was recording. They wanted to come out to LA and record it in their studios. And he basically recreated the demo tape that he had sent to several labels 3 years earlier and was rejected by everybody. Like, this is no good. There's nothing new here, but he was an MIT engineer and had this vision, wanted it done just his way. And he played multiple instruments on that recording, and basically it's why it was so hard for them to recreate that and reproduce it on the road, because it was really a true studio accomplishment.
Amazing album. What, 20 million copies later or whatever, however many it's sold? I mean,
Yeah.
And the Supertramp thing, you know what? I'll kind of do the little family tree thing. If there wasn't a Supertramp, there wouldn't have been what we know as, well, for me at least, for the Thin Lizzy, because Scott Gorham's brother-in-law was a Supertramp who got him the audition when Lizzy decided to do two guitar players. So if there wasn't a Supertramp, there wouldn't have been the real Thin Lizzy.
That's very cool. That is correct. Steve.
I'll talk about that Boston record because I'm that old. I bought that record when it came out at Lloyd's department store. And bought it just like how we talk about the early 80s metal. Bought it sight unseen, just a badass album cover. Gonna pick this up. All my friends made fun of me. Who's that? Who's that? They're no good. And then 6 months later, maybe not even 6 months, everybody in high school was listening to Boston. Everybody that had a souped up car, whatever else, was blasting that 8-track in the car. And I had it when it first came out. I don't know if it was the day it came out, but I used to go record stores all the time whenever that release date was and look through the records.
I think that was the first album I bought by a band that wasn't called Kiss.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And Ryan Scow still got my T-shirt that some other hardcore band, I don't even remember who it was, or metalcore band made, and it had it was Unearthed.
Oh,
Unearthed.
yeah.
He borrowed it once, never brought it back. So never let Ryan Scow.
Steve, I spent a lot of time looking for that fucking shirt.
Oh yeah, I'm sure you do.
Tyler in his bottom drawer or something. He's like, yeah, it's been a long time.
He's waiting until it's worth $800 on eBay and I'll sell it.
I don't remember what the band was.
I have to ask Nick Franco, what the fuck does your hat say?
Shooter.
What? Lean forward.
Shooter.
TSJ.
You went away on my screen.
There are no
Say something, Nick, so you'll come back on my screen.
Oh, hello. They're it's called Shooter. They're a Norwegian black metal band. They wear the face paint.
I feel like we've had this conversation before.
Yeah. I miss when Nick's not here.
It's like the third time we've had this conversation.
Can I use this as a very, very brief segue? Pete, do you mind if I just speak on behalf of Extreme?
I do not mind. We're under an hour, so we got time. So go ahead.
Hurry up, the Oilers are on. McJesus is on. Hurry up.
Yeah, hurry up. I wanted to say something on behalf of Extreme underground metal, particularly black metal, when it comes to productions, because I was going to do like one like classic metal album and then one extreme, but I didn't want to like leave out Megadeth. But I just want to say that there's a band band from Norway called Satira, and this is their 1996 album, Nemesis Divina. And
Yeah.
I gotta say that this is my favorite black metal production I've ever heard on an album. This is what these madmen look like, right? Super, super, super talented. And the production on this album, the way the keys sound, the way his voice sounds, the guitars, the ferocity,
Sounds.
the ferocity and depth on this record, the way the keys are worked in there, like sounding all majestic and classical, with the heaviness, and the drums sounding like they're hitting wet cardboard, but it works because the drummer's super talented. I gotta say that is my favorite extreme underground dark metal production. In 1996, it was actually quite unheard
Wet
of.
cardboard sound?
I was just gonna say you sold me at wet cardboard.
Yeah.
I have to
Cardboard
get that
sound.
album down.
You know what?
Like,
Woo!
who the hell doesn't want to hear some wet cardboard?
To people with wonderful tastes like yourselves, that things have to be, a certain way in rock and metal. I
Sound
understand.
good, you mean?
Yep. This is not what you would first go
This
to.
is not that. The sounding good. This is not that.
Butch,
The drums on that album don't sound like wet
I'll bet
cardboard. They sound
Butch,
pretty
I'll bet you
good.
$20. I'll bet you $20 right now. I'll bet you this Rangers mug. You put that record on, vocals aside, you'd like it. I know you would.
You know what? I can't even argue that. Vocals
aside.
Vocals
Yeah.
aside.
I know. Vocals are generally the breaking point with this type of music. People like, I mean, raise your hand if you like to sound somebody shrieking like they just got electrocuted.
Well, it depends. That depends.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of that.
But
That
you know
definitely
what?
depends.
But whether, regardless, this was a landmark album. When it came to production, black metal was unusual at that time for it to sound that well done. Most of them had a lo-fi ethic, and they wanted it to sound lo-fi. In the same way that like the Exploited and all those old punk bands
What
wanted.
what about Emperor?
Emperor's, yeah, great. You can't argue with the production. A lot of those bands went to Greg Holland Studios in Bergen, and they had a very echoey, very amazing production. And you can argue that it's a better production. But for me personally, this album Nemesis Divina, just everything. It's the most vicious and good and neoclassical and ferocious production I've ever heard on an extreme underground.
Drums on that album don't sound like shit. Don't undersell it. I think they sound like really polished and professional. I don't hear the cardboard thing at all. And I have a lot of black metal that sounds like fucking cardboard drums. So
yeah, like that's maybe not the best. Like that's usually used to describe black metal drums. I got to tell you, I'm probably, you're right, Ryan. I'm probably underselling it.
It sounds good.
Shetiel Haraldstad, known as Frost, one of the better drummers in extreme music. And
wait a minute. What was his name?
Shetiel Haraldstad.
Stop.
Well, his stage name's a lot easier. Just Frost.
I mean, Butch, you like Leon Draisaitl, right? That's kind of a weird name. You know what I mean? Like, they come from other countries. What are you going to do? His name isn't Joe Smith.
Joe Smith, I know that guy.
But I'm telling you,
We all do.
one of the best productions in extreme metal you'll hear. So I had to throw that in there.
And you know what, Nick? Honestly, for me, the black metal thing, it's not the vocal. It really isn't. The thing that bugs me is it's not the vocal.
Really?
I have a lot of heavy stuff that I don't like. One of my favorite bands on the entire planet is Meshuggah.
Yeah, Meshuggah. Yeah.
And the lyrics are brilliant if you can understand them or read them. I can understand what he's saying when he's shouting this stuff, but I'm not really listening to that. My thing to me that I don't like about black metal stuff, honestly, is the blast beat.
Right.
It's just like, okay, you're doing it fast and you're doing it for a long time. Now, can you stop it and do something?
Well, I think you would
And
find.
I love that. And I love that.
In this, that they don't kill you with it. Like there's some
That's
long,
definitely the taste. Yeah, it's easy to overdo that. It's really
but they mix it up with a much more like mid tempo. And I think like if you listen to the song Mother North, you'd be like, wow, that's pretty anthemic. It's very.
As much as I'm fucking with you, I know that you're right. I know that I would listen to the stuff and be like, that's fucking good right there. I know I would, but it's more fun to mess with you and say, what the fuck does your hat say?
Go ahead. I love it.
I appreciate it too. Yeah.
Listen, we all know that you wear that stuff just so someone will say something.
Yeah, this is way too clear, right?
I was disappointed when I saw the shirt.
I know.
Boom style.
I'll do better next time.
All right, time to do some plugs and things and all that kind of stuff. So, man, we got a lot of folks here. All right, so George, you want to talk about what's coming up on In the Prog Seat tomorrow night?
We are doing kind of a Alan Holdsworth discussion show.
Woo!
Top 5 solo albums and top 5 appearances as a sideman.
That is right. Tomorrow night, Tuesday night, every Tuesday night in the Prog Seat here on Sea Tranquility. So
I like
stay
that
tuned
one.
for that tomorrow. Steve Keeler, what's coming up on the Rock Fantasy Files?
Last week, we had a very busy week. I think we filmed 7 or 8 episodes in 6 days, and we just did a panel on the band Ghost.
You said this week.
Well,
Coming up.
I mean, they're not out yet. They're not up on the, some are up on the channel, some are coming out. Sorry, Butch.
I'm teasing. Come on,
comfortable
Steve.
you are.
Lighten
But,
up one of these weeks.
We did Ghost panel. We did a Merciful Fate panel where we were talking about our favorite songs from Merciful Fate. And we interviewed Hannes Van Dahl from Sabaton, the drummer. That'll be coming up this week. We had Ricky Rackman on the channel the other day. We were talking to him about his new show, The Ball, and it's on Saturday nights. And who else did we do? We did an Immortal panel talking about our favorite songs with Mia Wallace from Abbott, and she had some great stories to talk about from Immortal and Abbott and the black metal scene. And we had a really good episode on Saturday with Tony Dolan with his project called Sabatonero, and Chris was a guest, and Chris can say it's a very interesting Black Sabbath tribute album.
Absolutely.
Coming out soon, and it has a million different musicians.
Hey, is Snowy Shaw on that one?
He is on a song.
I thought so. I thought he that was the one he was telling me
Yep.
about.
And all the proceeds from this album are going to go to a hospital in Rome for first responders for the COVID-19. It's all in good, and he's got, I think we talked for over an hour about it, and he has ideas of even doing another album after this, and it's just a lot of fun. It was. So other than that, we're going to get together on Wednesday and pick our new, new albums from 2021, pick like the first quarter and see what we've been listening to. So I'll have a few guests on this week for that. So that's what's been going on lately. And some of the shows are up and some are coming up this week.
Cool. I'll see you for that on Wednesday, Steve.
You might hop in there.
Yeah, I'll be there. I'll be there.
Awesome. Thank you. Anybody else is welcome to join us.
I'll join you on Wednesday.
Cool.
Mike Antonelli, what's going on at the brewery at Orange County Hops?
Woo.
Very exciting things. We're premiering our new outdoor venue. We have a stage that I recently converted an old box truck into an outdoor stage with
Nice.
sliding doors. So we're both on a deck out the front of it. So we're both inside and outside.
Oh,
We
love
can
it.
accommodate up to 200 people now outdoors. Of course, we have our totally Hudson Valley made brews, which is 100% Hudson Valley ingredients with our own homegrown hops and our grains that come from Germantown and also from Pine Island. So everything in our product is made in Hudson Valley, including our music and our musicians. And just so happens that this Saturday, I'm premiering a band that I put together featuring my son on vocals and guitar, BJ Antonelli. And it's the first time that I'm going to get to play with him professionally. And the first time for him on stage.
Nice.
So we're really looking
That's
forward.
awesome.
That's Saturday from 6 to 8. If anybody wants to come out and check us out, 771 Route 52, Walden.
Oh, okay. Great. Sounds
Awesome.
amazing. Well, we all need some live music, and it sounds like you're the one place to come get it this summer.
Yeah, we're really excited about having the opportunity to be outdoors and accommodate so many people. And of course, I like to keep the music in-house and keep it local. So we hire as many local acts as we can. And being a saxophonist, I kind of wiggle my way in there with whoever plays there. I just jump up there and join them. So that's a lot of fun for me.
That's awesome.
And Mike's got what, about like eight of your own beers on tap and
Yeah.
local wines and local bourbon. Butch?
Bourbon?
Local
Yes.
bourbon from
Nice. Need a
Black
bartender?
Dirt, Black Dirt bourbon. Very smooth.
I've had it.
Yeah. And I also have
Nice.
vodka from Prohibition Distillery up in Roscoe, and 2 homemade sodas that we mix with those drinks, and people really enjoy that.
I don't need no mixing.
Okay, sounds good.
You got Hudson Valley Ice?
We got local
Everything
ice
Hudson
right from the
Valley.
well, from the ice machine.
That's
Do
great.
you also serve food there?
We have a food truck occasionally. We will have one this Saturday.
Okay.
We don't normally serve food, more of a tasting room with a music venue, but we do always have fresh popcorn. So
Oh, there you go.
Mike, did
you're
that guy with the
welcome
food
to
truck,
bring in food.
did that guy work out for you? The one we talked to the other day?
Yes,
Awesome.
Eddie. Right, Edward.
Yes.
Yes, he'll be there Saturday.
So we got Mexican food,
Nice.
food truck. We got so 6 o'clock. I'll be there, everybody. So in case anybody local wants to stop in, I will be there.
Drinks are on Pete. Drinks are on Pete.
Wow.
All right. Who else? Sydney, what's going on with you over at your neck of the woods?
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, I am now part of the Brave Words team, which is super exciting. Like I said, I haven't put out anything yet, but I'm working on some stuff, so that should be coming shortly. So I'll be over there with Rich Catino doing some cool stuff at Brave Words. But as for my podcast, I kind of took a couple weeks off because I was just kind of going through a little bit of a burnout and needed a reset. So my apologies for anybody who was looking forward to a couple episodes that didn't come, but I'm going to be back this week. I have some cool episodes coming up in the next couple of weeks. Just did an interview the other day with David Ellison and Jeff Scott Soto, which was super cool. So that's coming to the channel, and some other stuff. So lots of stuff in the works as always. And yeah, there's a lot happening. So if you want to stay up to date with me, you can follow me on Instagram, at Sanina Taylor, on Twitter. I always post everything that I'm up to and all the links to everything. So lots of stuff happening, but
Cool.
that's all I got.
Chris, what's going on in the Monsters Den next week or two?
I don't know what the hell. We're talking about spookies again. And this week we're doing top 10 slashers, right?
Top 10 boogeymen. Yep.
Boogeyman, yeah.
I think that's it. And then something else after that. British movies.
British horror.
I watched a bunch of junk and I blamed you this weekend. So
That's all right.
I was like, fucking Pete, he's got me watching these movies again. I can't ever watch whatever I want. I got to watch stuff for Pete.
Yeah, it's awful.
I'm just busting your chops, Pete. It's the soda.
I'm a terrible slave driver. It's a
It's a
soda,
soda.
right? Either that or-
Homework, Steve. So much homework.
I know, right?
My lawn.
You got the olds. We'll let you get
Fuck,
it.
fuck yeah, I do. I'm trying to get rid of them. You want some?
Yeah, get rid of
Stay
it.
I got
awake.
enough of my own, man.
Fuck, man.
Were you
I'm
able
old.
to stay awake through all those movies, Chris?
Sometimes I doze off plenty of times.
Yeah.
Especially when he was watching like 30 Godzilla movies about a month ago.
Oh, man. I was cursing
Yeah,
Pete
that
those 2 weekends.
I'm glad I don't do the monster thing because I don't want to watch that many movies. That's a lot of work.
A lot of movies.
Yeah. Thankfully, there are monster and horror movies, and we kind of like those. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, if you love the movies, it's not that
Yeah.
hard to work.
No, I'm just busting Pete's
How
chops.
about we do an episode where we rank the episodes of Barnaby Jones?
I'm gonna have to pass on that one, Steve.
I'm in on that one.
Oh yeah, all right, let's do it.
That and Cannon. Let's do Cannon and Banachek.
I
Oh,
love
God.
Cannon. I love Cannon. Every night they're on Me TV, middle of the night still. If you can't sleep, Manic. There's some triple header of Manics.
Oh, so wait, so
Barnaby Jones.
Steve falls asleep now, yet he's up in the middle of the fucking night watching me TV.
No,
Okay.
I
Snore now, stay awake later.
I DVR them.
I was gonna say, what the?
I'm sober tonight. That's why I'm tired. Maybe I did a lot of yard work today.
The other way
Isn't it
around.
usually the
Really?
opposite? When
Yeah,
you're
you
not
drink and you get
sober,
tired.
you're more tired.
Yeah,
Opposite
yeah.
day.
I don't know. It usually is the opposite, isn't it?
Rich Catino, what's going on over at Metal Asylum? And
Talking to Keith St. John tomorrow at our Metal Asylum Facebook page. He's from Montrose and the Montrose Remembered event that they do every year.
He's in another
He sings
band. Mention that band.
What's that?
Mention the band that he's in with the guitar player that everyone should love.
Burning Rain.
There you
Burning
go.
Rain.
Thank you.
Yeah, and he's also singing for Kingdom Come now too.
Yeah, well,
If you guys don't know that, yeah.
Can't win them all.
I'm not the biggest fan of Kingdom Come, but yeah, Burning Rain's cool. What else?
Oh,
And
no
then we're
winger.
doing- what's that?
I said they're no winger.
Winger.
Kingdom Come, I saw them open up.
What do you have against Chris? What do you have against Winger?
It just cracks me up, Richard.
Oh, okay.
I think you're the greatest, but your love for winger it tickles me for some reason. I'm not sure why.
Don't you knock Rod Morgenstein.
Listen,
I'll
Winger's
kill people.
Chris,
Winger's got some underrated
Hey,
prog
Chris,
little bits.
Chris,
in there for
Chris,
the
I'm on
band.
the same page with you with the winger thing. I never liked
Yeah,
him.
it's like
Oh yeah, well Rod
all right.
Morgenstein's in
I
that
picture
band.
like
Don't-
16-year-old girls with pigtails being into
No,
winger.
I just heard you're tickling Chris. That's all I picked up out of
Yeah,
that.
you know, it's good.
no.
Sometimes a tickle is
Chris,
nice.
I'll convert you at some point. You'll
Ooh,
change
well,
your
it's-
Hurt me.
Kim
Yeah.
Winger is actually really talented, so don't go by all
He
the
is.
crap you heard in the past.
No, I'm just going by the songs I've heard. That's all. I mean, you know.
Well, maybe you should hear some other songs.
Not our cup of tea. It's not our
Exactly.
cup of tea. We're from the extreme side of things.
You're gonna
Oh,
get
not your
tickled
cup of
too,
tea.
Steve.
Okay.
You're gonna get tickled next, Steve.
No, no,
I
no.
didn't see them once though, Rich. I saw Winger open for Deep Purple.
And-
Did
I spent like half the time at the snack bar.
you? Time to get a beer.
I think if you listen to the latest 4 albums, you'll change your opinion of what they're about.
Oh,
That's a lot of
having to
homework.
watch those movies.
I'd rather watch more movies for Pete.
They've got
We'll
some,
work on it. We'll work on it.
they've got some
Uh.
underrated. They do have some underrated songs if you really get into the records. Like, yeah, you
Yeah.
listen to 17 and shit. You're like,
I
yeah.
had to
Right.
spend my-
If you
Yeah,
just
that's
judge them,
what
if you just judge them on the singles, then you're not listening to them properly.
But they do have some good songs if you get into the obscurity of some of the records. So
And this is why this channel is all different, because we got different people that like different things.
That's right.
And we all respect each other for liking them.
Absolutely. It's nothing
Do
wrong
we?
with it.
Do we? Do we?
Really,
you?
exactly. Do
Part,
Do you?
for the most part.
I wouldn't
No,
go that
I
far.
had to say that because I know that's what Butch was thinking.
Oh, I said it.
I'm
I-
saying
you
the
said it in
that's the
unison.
politically correct statement. You know.
A politically erect statement? What?
Yeah, I heard politically.
Wait.
Correct.
That's what I heard.
Correct.
Butch,
Yeah.
by the way, did you see? Because we mentioned Burning Rain. I had Doug on the podcast a couple weeks back. So if you haven't seen it, you should watch that, Butch.
I have not seen that. I don't. I don't know if he is. I've hung out with him a little bit. He seems like the biggest pothead ever. And if he's not, if that's just the way he is, and that's just the way he is. But holy shit, does he seem like a fucking stoner dude?
He's a nice dude, though. It was
He's
a
a
cool
great guy.
conversation. He's so awesome. So I mean, I thought I'd mention that
Poor
to you. 'cause
puppies.
I know
I
you're
appreciate it. I love him as a player. I love him
Yeah,
as a
he's
player.
great.
Great.
Nice puppy, Nick.
Thanks.
Yeah, there he is.
You're not getting your bath from him like Scal?
Oh, that's the other. Where's the other dog, Nick? Just the Muppet.
Probably on the couch sleeping.
Where's your other dog, Ryan?
He's
Muggs
sleeping in the
inside.
Take turns.
They take turns.
Muggsy doesn't quite bathe him like this dog does.
Well, Lynn, what do you show off what you got? What do you got?
My other half gave me this nice signed Nikki Sixx Shout at the Devil record with a nice
Oh.
Nikki Sixx pick. He's my
Very
future ex-husband right here. He doesn't know it yet, but he is.
Someone
There
gave
it
me
is.
that.
What is that?
It's Megadeth. It was signed by
Right.
Megadeth.
Yeah, but did you just get it on your birthday?
No.
There.
Lynn's like,
Very
this is my
excited.
episode.
I was very
It's
excited
Hudson
to
Valley
get that,
Squares, Lynn's 50th birthday edition. That's gonna be what the title of the video is
That's
called.
right.
as it should be. Where the fuck are all my gifts? God damn it!
It's not your birthday. Shut the fuck up.
4 days, bitch. Where's my gift? Got
Talk to
4
me on
days to come up
Friday.
with something good.
Hey,
Lynn,
Lynn, you want to
Friday.
plug? Lynn, you want to plug the show we're doing tomorrow?
I want to plug the top 10 Meatloaf songs tomorrow. Tomorrow,
Bad
I'm
pencil.
doing with Pete, and I'm going
Meatloaf
to bring
and
my
Devil.
handy guitar that Butch loved to play on my birthday party so much.
I got
Yeah,
mine.
top 10 Meatloaf songs with you tomorrow night. And I'm all my writings and stuff at Vicious Moments or Vicious_moments on Instagram. Writing. That's all I'm doing.
Cool.
Actually, and I'm booking live music at 3 places now in the Hudson Valley. So
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
anybody needs live music, they can come to me and I will book them.
Everybody.
What
fucking
places
loves
are those places?
DC Sports, Deuces, and Back at the Alley Cat.
Cool.
Mm.
Butch, Butcher Shop, how's things going over there?
It's going good. I'm letting everyone just take over. So everyone come find me at the Butcher Shop, and on Facebook, it's easy. Just put in fucking Butcher Shop and you'll find me. That's it. Yeah, I'm not mentioning his name. I'm just wearing my awesome shirt. So his name was not mentioned by me, but just this fantastic shirt from
It's a
1984.
badass shirt. I will say that.
Isn't that a great? That's a great shot.
Yeah.
Other than that, nothing. Getting ready to go. Shut up. Going in the hockey playoff season soon, hopefully, and hopefully the Rangers will make it in, and the Oilers are going to make it in. So McJesus. So that's it for me.
And Nick, as the weather gets warmer, you're going to do another one of those little fire pit thingies that you.
Absolutely. Everyone is invited.
I would like to do one too. If you saw in the notes, I mentioned doing something in my backyard, you know?
I'm gonna have to make the journey from Philly for that one or one of those.
Yeah, you gotta get some stuff
My
going.
backyard could be. an
I'm sorry, you
adventure.
promised grilled cheese, tomato soup, and scary movies.
Yes, you can't take that back.
Doing it. And you guys can run through the
Tomato
whole.
soup,
Oh, get out of here.
It goes with grilled cheese, and I'll
Oh,
I'll wear my
yeah.
feety pajamas, and I'll scare at the scary movies. I'll
cream
scream.
cream of chicken soup goes better with that than.
Okay.
Ew.
Ooh, I don't know about
What are you
that.
fucking 80?
Tomato soup gives me
What are you
heartburn.
80? Cream of chicken soup. Who the hell's eating that?
And then
I mean,
everybody.
sometimes I'll get when I'm sick.
Don't eat it.
Cream?
I don't
You're
know.
eating
Grilled
cream
cheese and
chicken
tomato
soup when you're
goes
sick?
together. I don't
When
know.
you're sick,
Me,
Goes
chicken.
in-
No, brothy soups when you're sick.
All about the broth.
no tomato soup though. It's like it gives you heartburn.
Doesn't give me heartburn.
Everything gives you
Mary,
agita.
Mary, it gives me agita at night.
Everything
Boy.
gives you agita. What are you gonna do? Take brioche, you get over it.
And the
Man.
lactose intolerance kicks in with the grilled cheese.
Oh boy.
Oh boy. All right, everybody. We're
Time to
gonna
wrap this one up.
call this a night here. So thanks everybody for
Oh,
watching.
what a night.
Visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter. Of course, we're here on YouTube.
All
Oh,
the
the
damn
damn
time.
There you go. So hopefully I'll see some of you at the brewery at Orange County Hops this Saturday at 6 o'clock in Walden, New York. For Steve Keeler, Butch Jones, Sydney Taylor, Lynn Versace, Nick Franco, Ryan Scow, Chris Allo, Mike Antonelli, Rich Catino, George Lamie. Whoo, that's a mouthful. I am Pete Pardo. Good night, everybody. Take care.
Night.
Bang.